She didn't say Melania's name, but one question from Jasmine Crockett shook the entire White House and exposed the double standard America's been ignoring for decades. It started with the usual noise of a Capitol Hill hearing: paper shuffling, tired voices, political theater. But when Representative Jasmine Crockett leaned into her microphone that Thursday morning, the air in room 2141 of the Rayburn House office building changed. The topic was immigration reform again. Most of it had been dry. Republicans talking about law and order, Democrats pushing for family protections. Cameras panned across yawning interns and stone-faced committee members. But Crockett wasn't here to play nice. She adjusted her blazer, stared straight ahead, and spoke slowly. If we're going to deport undocumented spouses for breaking visa rules, she paused, then dropped it. Do we start with the First Lady? Silence. Not the kind that's polite. The kind that feels like someone just knocked over the table. 3 seats to her left, Representative Glenn Bradbury blinked hard, lips parted like he couldn't believe she'd actually said it. On the Republican side, murmurs bubbled into a quiet rustle, papers being picked up, a hand covering a cough that might have been a laugh. C-SPAN's closed captioning feed caught up 5 seconds later. Phones vibrated in the audience rows. A staffer from Nebraska looked up from her laptop with wide eyes and mouthed, "Did she just say Melania?" Crockett didn't repeat it. She didn't need to. She sipped water, looked down at her notes, and let the moment linger. Representative Paul Gentry, chairing the session, cleared his throat like he'd swallowed a pebble. "Let's keep the discussion respectful," he muttered, half to Crockett, half to the cameras. But it was too late. The cameras had it. The internet had it. In the back row, a freelance journalist named Lex Torres was already tweeting. He didn't quote her directly. He didn't have to. He just wrote, "Crockett just threw a grenade in the room. Had deport your migrant wife." It took 13 minutes for that hashtag to start trending. Less than 2 hours for it to hit national headlines. But inside the room, the aftermath was quieter. Gentry tried to move on, called on another representative from Arizona. But even he was thrown off, stumbling through his statement on visa quotas. Jasmine Crockett didn't smile. She wasn't gloating. If anything, she looked tired, but focused. She'd planned that line, probably rehearsed it in front of the mirror, knowing exactly what it would do. Representative Molly Kincaid, a Democrat from Oregon, leaned over to her and whispered, "That's gonna explode." Crockett gave a dry reply without turning her head. "Good." Across the aisle, Bradbury scribbled something onto a notepad, ripped the page out, and handed it to his aide. Moments later, a Republican staffer slipped out the side door with his phone already at his ear. Because if Crockett had crossed a line, the party needed to decide quickly, was it worth responding, or would that just draw more attention to the thing nobody wanted to talk about? Nobody. Until now. Outside the building, reporters were already crowding the steps. Lex Torres was on a live stream. "She didn't name names," he said, "but we all know who she meant. And look, we've all seen the reports about Melania's visa issues. Nobody brings it up because, well," he shrugged. "Now they will." Inside, the hearing limped on, but the atmosphere had changed. Words hit different. Even the dry policy stuff sounded sharper, like everyone knew something big had just been dropped, but nobody was allowed to say it out loud again. Jasmine left the room 10 minutes later, walking straight down the corridor with her team. She wasn't answering questions, at least not yet, but she didn't look rattled. She looked like someone who had finally said the thing everybody else had tiptoed around for years. But while she walked calmly out of that hearing room, chaos was already starting to build inside the West Wing. The hearing had ended less than an hour ago when the storm hit the West Wing. Inside the private dining room off the Oval Office, Donald Trump stood behind a chair, gripping the top of it so hard his knuckles turned pale. The flat screen mounted on the wall replayed Jasmine Crockett's now viral moment on a loop, the closed captioning bold and slow. "Do we start with the First Lady?" Trump didn't blink. He didn't sit. He didn't even yell at first. He just stared at the screen like it had personally insulted him. Hope Daniels, one of his senior advisors, stepped forward. "We're drafting a press response. Just a quick, don't write anything," he snapped, eyes still locked on the screen. "This woman just said my wife should be deported. She said that. In front of the world." Daniels froze. The room was packed. Chief of Staff Vic Marino, Press Secretary Carla McNair, Communications Deputy Rudy Finch, and a legal advisor nobody even knew by name. Everyone looked around like they were waiting for someone else to jump in. Trump finally turned around. Where the hell was was Paul Gentry. He should have shut that down. Where is he? He tried, sir, McNair said. He called for order. Trump raised his voice. Not order. He should have kicked her out. Suspended her. Something. They'd suspend a Republican for saying something like that. There was a pause. Nobody wanted to remind him that Crockett hadn't actually named Melania. Not out loud. That kind of correction could cost a job. She said First Lady, Trump growled, answering his own thought. She meant Melania. She didn't have to say her name. Everyone knows. Carla McNair glanced at Vic Marino, who gave her a look that said, don't. But Trump was pacing now. They think I won't respond. They think I'll let that slide. I'm not letting that slide. You get the GOP heads on the phone, Gentry, Hollins, Janovich. I want a coordinated response before the 6 o'clock news cycle. Daniels moved toward her phone, but Trump held up a hand. No, wait. We don't just respond. We go big, full court press. Interviews, op-eds. I want somebody writing that this was a disgrace, that she should be censured. He paused again, then asked, can we censure her? Marino spoke up cautiously. Technically, yes, but it has to go through the House Ethics Committee and start it, Trump barked. Get the paperwork, make her feel it. They want to come for my wife, we come for their seats. Daniels looked up from her phone. Sir, respectfully, if we push too hard, we risk bringing more attention to Melania's immigration story. It's already trending. Trump turned toward her slowly. What do you mean trending? She tapped a screen and turned it toward him. The top posts on X, formerly Twitter, all read, hashtag deport your migrant wife, Melania visa, sachet, Crockett was right. One post had 500,000 views in 30 minutes. Another was a clip from an old interview with Melania on Larry King Live, where she dodged a question about how she first worked in the US. Trump's face twisted. Find those people. Every damn one of them. I want accounts suspended, reported, shut down. I don't care how. Nobody moved. They're dragging my wife through the mud, and we're just sitting here. McNair tried to calm the situation. We can brief Melania. Get her a quiet, sit-down interview. Frame this like a personal attack. No, he snapped. She's not doing press. They don't deserve her voice. We'll speak for her. But I said no. He slammed a hand down on the table. Water glasses jumped. The room fell silent again.